We've got Stefan Verstappen here, one of the leading preppers and survivalists that are out there, up there in Canada. Always good to get our Canadians on the program. And listen, we're ready to roll now with Stefan. And right off of the bat, before we even get into the lockdowns, I had a very interesting last 48 hours on my premium podcast this morning. Stefan, I noted how you can go from 0 to 100 very quickly, unsuspectingly. What I mean by that is right where I am in the Ohio Valley area. It was about, I don't know, 5 o'clock-ish, 2 days or so ago, sitting there sort of winding it down. I don't even know what I was doing. I think I was texting my sister at one point, and then got the tornado warning blast up on the phone. It was on the TV as well. And then, like, normally when you hear those things, you're kind of like, okay, whatever. And it's pretty rare out here in the Ohio Valley area. But this one was actually very serious because it was targeting specifically for, well, not only my city, but 4 cities, neighboring cities, Wintersville, Wellsburg, Weirton, Fallsby, and then, of course, my city. And as it turned out, because we were, me and my family, we were all like kind of tuned in. We were getting into YouTube. Where did the tornado land down? We were hitting up WTOV9, the local news station. Well, it turns out that it landed. There was actually 2 that landed in my area. One, the closest one was in a town called Wintersville, where my brother, one of my younger brothers, lived, and it hit the development that he lived in probably about, 3 years or so ago before moving out to Pittsburgh. It literally destroyed like a neighboring home. It was like probably, like 4 or 5 houses away, it kind of looked like. I mean, it just ripped it to shreds, which is kind of weird. It didn't really, like a touchdown, didn't really stay too long. But nevertheless, very rare out here. And my whole point was this whole area was like on alert, you know what I mean? Going from 0 to 100 in a matter of a few seconds, really. But Stefan, I know it's not necessarily the focal point of today's talk, but I don't know, man. What you been up to? What's the latest? I know we want to talk forced vaccines, latest lockdown, latest lunacy happening up there in Canada. Maybe you can fill us in.
Well, it is relevant what you're talking about because as preppers, and I hate that term prepper, and I don't like survivalists either, but originally the point of being a prepper was to prepare for natural disasters. That's what, most of us that started off in this movement we're talking about. What would happen if there was an earthquake? Are you prepared? What would happen if there was a hurricane or an ice storm? All kinds of natural disasters can occur at any moment, at any time. And at the very least, everybody should be prepared for that. So they should have, their 3 days worth of food minimum. You should have your radios, not your hand cranked radios, because let's say the power goes out, and most of the time the power goes out during these natural disasters. So you do need to have, and then, if it's in wintertime, the power goes out, you better have an alternative way of staying warm, especially up here in Upper America Incorporated, known as Canuckistan. Yeah, we're not a country. We're just, a state. We're the 51st state of America is what we are, except this is the state where they sent all the weaklings and the idiots to live,
That's what since last time we talked, did they open up the borders? Did I read that right? That Canada finally opened up their borders, or did they shut that right back down? Now that the Delta
I can never keep track. I think they opened it up, and then maybe they shut it down. Who knows? I don't know anymore. Listen, if you're going to go over the border, you better check on a day-to-day business because
right, you might not get back over.
Yeah, it might be open today. Tomorrow you arrive at the border and they say, "Oh, well, we closed it down now because there were 16 new cases."
Yeah, 16.
Yeah, so I can't keep track of it all, to be honest with you, Eric, and I don't even bother keeping track, because it's gotten so ridiculous that this fraud, this farce of a circus show. Oh, we've got cases now we're going to stage green, and now we're going to stage 2, and now this is a red, but this is a gray, and this is a yellow, and then yellow means you can pick your nose, but you can't kiss your cousin, and then crying out loud, who keep track of it? They make it up on the spot. They pull it out of their asses as they go along, and everybody's supposed to click their heels and zig hail every time the premier or the governor or the mayor or whatever fraud that supposedly was elected, and nobody was elected. All these people were installed. Let's do away with the myth that we live in a democracy. We don't. Not even your mayor is elected, for crying out loud, let alone the president or the governor. Your mayor isn't even elected. Your mayors are installed. Look at that piece of crap de Blasio there in New York. Oh my God, what a freak show this guy is. And then look at the governor of New York. Here's this guy, telling everybody that he's really upset that you're not getting the vax. And this is a guy that's got pierced nipples. I mean, how creepy is that? But you can see it. There's a picture of him wearing a T-shirt. You can clearly see that both his nipples have those dumbbell piercings.
Yeah.
Here's a 60-year-old man. Ugly 60-year-old man, and his nipples are pierced. Are you kidding me? What a freak show. Yeah. Anybody would, take that person seriously, and he's, we're going to have to, we're tired of being nice guys. We're going to round up the anti-vaxxers, and we're going to force them to get it up the rear. And, oh, my God, yeah, get it up the rear. Okay, we know where you're coming from, Mr. Nipple Piercer.
Right. No, I'm right there with you. But it's a freak show out there all across the board. And it kind of tends to what, it's a great segue into what we really want to talk about today, which is all kinds of stuff. But heading for the hills. I know quite a few people. As a matter of fact, I was going to read you the email that I got this morning. Oh, what did I do with it, Eric? Let me just type in this name. Because one of my followers, I've never talked to him before, but apparently he's been following me for a while. His name's Stephen Maydus, and this is the message I got at the beginning of the week, Stefan. He says, I'll keep this email short because I know you are busy. I appreciate all that you are doing. My name is Stephen Maydus. I graduated from the Naval Academy in 2013. I'm currently an active duty Navy SEAL. However, I currently lost my position as platoon commander for refusing the COVID shot. I believe that God is calling me to start a refuge, and I wanted to reach out to you to see if you could be involved in any way. My wife and I just purchased 130 acres in the mountains of West Virginia, and I'm only assuming that's southern West Virginia because I live on the border of West Virginia. It's not too much around here. It has a mountain spring on the property, crystal clear water, no living structure yet, however, a 5,000 square foot warehouse that he would like to use, convert it into a church or use it for some other major function. In any case, I could go on a few more paragraphs, but you get the point. So what we're seeing, and it kind of ties into Catholic prophecies, more and more people are getting out of the cities. They're trying to do like these little, homesteads or wherever you want to put it. I'm still looking for land out here, but as you know, prices have just gone through the roof. I mean, it is just disgusting. I just haven't really found anything that I felt really called to look at. But in any case, we really wanted to get to talking about that today, heading for the hills. And I don't know how we should really structure this in regards to preparing, what's all involved with that. I mean, bug out bags, like knowing the terrain. I don't know. I'm just going to hand it over to you. You, of course, are the expert here. But how do you think we should proceed, Stefan?
Yes, well, I am the expert here. Yeah, listen, I do a lot of consultations. For your listeners who may not know that if you want to speak to me in person, go to my website, chinastrategies.com, click on preparedness consulting, and it's not just preparedness. I'll talk to you about just about anything. And I've been getting pretty busy with this. A lot of people just want to speak to somebody that gets it. We are so ostracized and isolated. There's thousands of us, but we're separated from each other by thousands of miles. And almost everybody that books an appointment with me and we sit and we just talk, just like Eric and I are talking about whatever you want to talk about. We'll go back and forth, ask me questions, and we'll discuss whatever it is that's of interest to you. But you know what everybody wants to know? Everybody wants to know, number one, how do I get out of here?
All right, yeah.
And where the hell can I go? Now, that's a problem. I've spoken to people, and it's just like you said. I know guys that bought property in Idaho. A lot of people are moving to Idaho. Good luck. I think it's a great place to move to. There's a lot of positive aspects to Idaho. But like you said, the prices there for property are going through the roof. All these what I call retreat states, right? These are the red states that are mostly red and are still out in the, far enough away from any, the joys of diversity.
The joys of diversity.
I call them the retreat states, but they're being flooded with refugees. Let's call it what it is. Anybody that's moving from Boston or Chicago or San Francisco and they're moving to Idaho or Colorado or Texas, those people are refugees. They are fleeing communism, just like happened during the Second World War, where people were fleeing over the border into West Germany and trying to get to the United States, anything to get away from the communists. They were considered refugees. And anybody that now feels they have to leave the place they were born and raised in order to get away from the Democrats, and did I say Democrats? I meant communists. I meant tyrannical totalitarians. You are refugees, but those refugee states are getting really expensive to move to. So the first thing I ask, or one of the first things I ask the clients that talk to me, I asked them right straight up, how much money do you have? Because that's going to make a big difference on where you can go and how you can go. So a couple of my clients, they had property that they could sell, they'll probably be able to get $1 million, $1.5 million out of it once they've sold their property. And, they want to buy something in Idaho for, $600,000 and, be able to have $400,000. Okay, go for it. Go move to Idaho. Yeah, get a nice piece of property there. Something with, a running stream on it would be great. Mm-hmm. Something with a little bit of acreage that you can, grow fruit on, and go for that. Absolutely. But then I've spoken to people and they said, well, I got $5,000. Well, yeah, unfortunately, $5,000 is not going to get you very far. So what do you do in that situation? So, yeah, the problem is money. The more money you have, the better chance you have to find a decent piece of property. But that's not to say that the only way to escape and survive this is to buy your own ranch out in Wyoming or something like that. It will be, if you could afford to do that, it might be a little bit easier for you. You might have a slightly better chance of surviving what's coming, but I wouldn't count on it because, listen, once these communists take over, they know you've run away and they will come for you. They know you fled San Francisco and now you're hiding out in Wyoming. You think they don't know where you live? They know where you live, and they'll come for you.
I was about to say, Stephen, don't the communists usually go for the farmers first and people living off grid first? Typically
they do. I hate to break it, be the bearer of bad news, but your little farmhouse out in the country is going to be on the top of their list of places to target. That's what the communists do. That's what they did during the Holodomor in was it Yugoslavia? Ukraine.
Yeah. Ukraine. Is it Ukraine? Yeah. Yeah, I think it is Ukraine.
Yeah, in Ukraine. Now that's a typical example that I want people to examine because Ukraine was the breadbasket of Europe. They produced, most of the wheat and the vegetables and the livestock. And these were mostly small, family-owned farms that were way out in the country. So you would think, well, you're pretty safe. You got a little farm. You're way out in the sticks there. You're just growing a little bit of wheat and raising some cattle. You should be okay. Oh, they got hit first. They sent, troops, and they only need to put, 6 guys with rifles into a truck, and they go along the country road from farmhouse to farmhouse. Yeah, it took them a couple of months to get to everybody. But they got to everybody, and they stole everything they had, all their food, all their livestock. They even shot the cattle. They shot the horses. They shot the dogs. They tortured the farmers to reveal any hiding spots. Maybe they had, 10 pounds of wheat buried under the floorboards. And so, they grabbed the farmer and they grabbed the farmer's wife and they started raping her until he confessed to where he might have hidden some food. And those people starved to death to the tune of, we don't know what the real numbers are, 10 million people died because of that. And they were hit first, whereas the people in the big cities like Moscow, they still had food. It was food stolen from the gulags, stolen from the farmers in the Ukraine, and shipped to Moscow. But the irony is that people that never planted a garden, that lived in some ghetto in Russia and Moscow, got more food than the people that used to provide and grow all that food. So
yeah, it's an interesting point because I don't know if I've changed my opinion. I'm sort of like on the fence now, where I thought, okay, like I know one day we are going to have to head for the hills and head to the caves and the dens. The early Catholic Church fathers said that would exactly be, describing, society for the future, not only for Christians, but for those who are going to try to avoid this communist antichrist to come. But my initial thought was like, okay, let me go ahead and start looking at bigger amounts of land so we could get more people. But like you said, it's just a bigger target. And then I had one of my guests, David Dubine, mentioning, and I forget exactly how he laid this out, but eventually the plan is in place to just raise property taxes so much to the roof that it's not possible for farmers or anyone with that amount of property to actually pay it, and then they'll just come and kind of take it that way. So I'm more or less thinking, okay, maybe stay in a city like mine where, in portions of the town, even up here where I live, Stefan, it looks like some of these houses are abandoned. It looks like, the communists are already swept through in some cases, to be honest with you. You know what I mean? So I'm like, maybe we have to dip out here for a little bit. But then, I live in the Ohio Valley area, so it's still there's a lot of, mountainous areas, caves. We got the Ohio River that I could walk to in 15 minutes. Toronto, Ohio, probably about a 20-minute walk. I mean, it's got all kinds of wonderful land and just little nooks and valleys to where you could hide out in. That's more or less what I'm thinking. Start out the city, and at a certain point, when they start rolling through, maybe you have to retreat for a little bit and, just kind of always be moving, I'm thinking. I don't even think it's a matter of us just going to one place and then saying, oh, yeah, we're going to be here for the next 5 years. I don't see that happening either.
Yeah, look, there's advantages and disadvantages to every strategy and tactic. And look, if you could, I would like, listen, I don't have any money, but if, let's say I won the lottery tomorrow, which would be really difficult because I never buy lottery tickets.
That's a good starting point, right?
I call it a stupid tax.
Right.
Because the government runs the lotteries. They get the money. Oh, for Christ's sakes. But let's say I won the lottery, $50 million. Would I want to buy a piece of property out in a rural area? Sure, I would. Yeah, I would do it. And would I invite some friends to come and live on the the in-law suite that you build in the property? Yeah, I would do that. It would be great. It doesn't mean that you're going to survive, though, because, again, you could just be a bigger target.
All right.
Now, listen, if you live – I had a couple of guys, clients. They lived in Chicago. They can't travel to work anymore using public transportation because they get robbed every day. Every day they get mugged. It's so bad. He said that the street gangs roam every facet of Chicago now, day and night. There is every city usually has a nice touristy area, where they have the expensive shopping strip or whatever. Even those areas are now infested completely with street gangs. He got robbed at gunpoint in broad daylight at the busiest train station in Chicago. So he can't even travel into town anymore. The neighborhood where he lives used to be Polish Catholic, right? Sort of like, I'm guessing, you, Eric.
Yeah, something like that, yeah. Yeah, no, I listen, I lived right outside of Chicago, Aurora, Naperville area. I had to.
There you go. That's where he is.
Aurora, Naperville. Yeah.
Yeah.
Most people have to drive in the city. That's what I had to do. Unfortunately, that one major highway was 2 hours one way, getting stuck in that traffic. But I ended up, where was it? Hoffman Estates, where I worked. But yeah, I lived in Aurora, Naperville. Way too expensive. But yeah, I can only imagine what it looks like there. I still have friends that live in Chicago. I have no idea why they're still there. But that's becoming more common too. It's not just Chicago; it's New York. I mean, it's Los Angeles. I mean, you're just seeing beatings and muggings happening on these viral videos while it's happening, people are just watching it, walking by, or taking pictures of it, on their cell phones.
Yeah, that's what he said too. He got robbed in broad daylight. Nobody stopped. Nobody even noticed it. And so, well, yeah, you got to get out of Chicago. You can't live there. So with him, he only had he had, I think, about like $7,000. No, he had $10,000 in cash, but he had $10,000 in credit card debt. I said, well, forget about the credit card debt. 2 years from now, ain't going to be no collection agents coming around to your door because there ain't going to be nothing. So don't worry about the credit card debt. Take your $10,000. He had a friend that lived in Florida. And I said, okay, well, you got your $10,000. That's enough to rent a moving van and pay for gas and go to goddamn Florida then. Get out of Chicago. So some areas, yeah, you got to get out. If you got $5,000, you got $10,000. It's enough to rent a car. It's enough to, and then go visit a friend if you can and stay with them for a couple of weeks until you find a job, or stay with them a couple of months until you can, get better situated, find your own place to live. He liked Florida. There's a lot of good things about Florida. They're not as harsh on the lockdowns, apparently, the last time I heard. And the weather is a lot nicer. Who wants to spend another winter in Chicago? Jesus, shoot me now. So, yeah, go to a warmer state, and you've got one person there that is on the same page as we are. This is how bad it is. For me to find one other human being that gets what I get, I'd have to drive for hours and hours and hours to find them, right? Because there's nobody in my neck of the woods, not that I know of. I don't know how to find them. I've done my best to look for people, but I can't find them. So if you have one other person and they live a few states over, but at least you're out of Chicago, you're out of L.A., you're out of New York, then go, because those cities are shitholes. Everybody knows it. And when the shit really hits the fan, and look what's happening now already with the riots and the looting, and like you say, you can't even walk down the street without getting mugged or murdered anyways. Now imagine no police at all, and no food, and no stores that are open. What are these people going to do? They're going to turn into cannibals within a week. They'll be running around eating your pets. So, no, get the hell out of those places.
Yeah. Now, in regards to, let's stay on the lines of bug out bag. Let's go to my premise. Let's say you're hanging out in a, city or like more of a suburban area, and, whatever comes through, National Guard, street gangs, you're like, okay, I know I got to get out of here. I got to head towards the local, whatever, the local hills, whatever that is for you. What would be in your bug out bag?
Well, I'd like to carry as much as I can, my bug out bag, I have my 5 survival necessities. Okay. So first of all, you got food. Second of all, I have a way to purify water. Now, living here in Ontario, water is never a problem. There are millions of lakes and streams and ponds and things like that. There's water everywhere. You don't have to worry about water. If you live in Arizona or New Mexico or Southern California, when I was living in Southern California, I did a lot of bike rides up in the mountain trails, and guess what? There's no water up there. There's nothing up there. There's nothing to eat. There's no water. Yeah, beautiful scenery, mountains, cactus, no water. So if you had to carry water and you lived in Arizona or New Mexico, you won't get further than 20 miles if you had to carry your own water, because, you just can't carry that much water.
Right.
But here in Ontario, and probably where you are, you're close enough to the Ohio River, and I'm sure there's lots of little streams and creeks. And things.
Oh, yeah.
So water's not a big problem. Okay, but you do need a way to purify the water. So what I've got a cooking pot. Boiling the water is the easiest way, the cheapest and the easiest way to purify water, right? So I've got my cooking pot. I got my cooking stove. I use a pop can alcohol stove, and I use isopropyl alcohol to run the stove. And I can boil a cup of water in about 4 minutes using this little aluminum can stove. So, okay, so I also have the what do you call it? The life straw. I got one of these.
Right. Yeah, I got that too.
Yeah, I got that too. Okay. I'll be honest with you. I don't know how much I trust that.
I've never used it, so I don't know.
I don't know. I'll try it. And then the other thing I've got is chlorine pills. and iodine, which you can use to purify water or disinfect water anyway. So you can't purify, but you can disinfect it. So I have 3 ways of making sure I got clean water. Great. Next thing is food. Problem is with a bug out bag, I'm assuming you're going to have to stick it on your back and walk for a while. So food is the second priority, but food is heavy to carry. And you're going to need at least 3 days worth of food minimum. And if you can carry more, great. So if it's all freeze-dried foods and you just add water, then okay, 3 days worth of food isn't going to be too much of a problem. But because I'm a glutton, I like to have, meat in my food. So I've got cans of Spam. I got cans of brown beans and pork, and I've got cans of tuna because I want protein. You need protein. So, I've got the romaine noodles, but at least I've got a little bit of meat that I can throw into it. So you have a full belly, but you also have some protein and some grease. Okay, fine. So 3 days worth of food minimum. Next thing is some shelter materials. Now, I've got 2 tents, pup tents, they weigh too much. There's no way I'm going to be able to carry this thing around. So instead, what I've got is I've got a bivy sack. Now, a bivy sack is like a ground sheet, but it's sealed on 3 sides. It's like an envelope, and you just stick yourself into the envelope. And it's like a sleeping bag, but it doesn't weigh as much and it doesn't take up as much room. So I've got the bivy sack. I've got a big, pretty strong poncho that I can use as a tarp over top of the bivy sack. And then if I can fit it in, I'll take a sleeping bag. But if not, I do have a small, like one of those car blankets. And I also have those Mylar emergency blankets. So in a worst case scenario, I can stuff all this stuff in the bivy sack, the blanket, the Mylar thing underneath, the poncho over top as a rain fly, and it's going to weigh a lot less than the tent would. And even if you don't have the blanket or anything, with the bivy sack, the old trick is to you fill it up with hay or dry leaves. You just fill it all up. That acts as insulation. So you don't even need a sleeping bag, but it's nice to have one. Then I've got a radio. I've got a very small handheld ham radio. So I can now listen in on broadcasts from hundreds of miles away, and that will give you a very good idea of what's going on. You need communications, information, intelligence is always a key component in survival because you got to know what's going on around you. So a small radio. You might even want to get one of those small emergency radios, the one with the hand crank. But my experience is listening into AM and FM radio tells you nothing. These radio stations, they're worse than useless. They might broadcast a tornado alert, But a ham radio, and you need to have the frequencies for the local fire, ambulance, police. You listen to the local police broadcasts, that will tell you what's going on. So communications. Then some tools, some basic tools. They always come in handy, like a camping knife, and I like a Leatherman, It's got those, it's like a plier, and it's got all kinds of screwdrivers and all that. I like that because I carry one everywhere I go, because most places I go, I travel by bicycle. So my bug out plan is to go on my bicycle. And I've got a trailer that one of those kids trailers where, people can put their kids in there. But I, repurposed it. So it's basically a flatbed trailer behind my bicycle. And that's where my bug out bag goes. I could put 3 bug out bags on that trailer, no problem. So, and instead of carrying 3 days worth of food, I could carry, 2 weeks worth of food in the bug out trailer behind my bicycle. And I can go a lot further and a lot faster than walking out. And again, that's assuming that your bug out bag is, let's plan that this is going to be something that you carry on your back. Because we all think, well, we'll just throw it in the truck and then we'll drive. Okay, that's what be my first choice too. Throw it in the truck, let's go. But you don't know, are the roads going to be blocked? Is the military going to be out there at every intersection with spot checks and stopping people? Or Have the roads been washed away? Are the bridges still functional? Because, we don't maintain our infrastructure. The bridges are collapsing all over the place. How are you going to cross the Ohio River without a bridge in your car? You're not going to do it. So you're back to walking. My study of people that were evacuated from war zones during like World War I and World War II, and they had to flee the fighting. They all did it on foot. You didn't see lineups of cars getting out of the cities. You saw lineups of people carrying their life's possessions wrapped up in a blanket or a stick. That's
gotta get in shape. Gotta get in shape now. We've been harping on that for a while. Make sure your cardio is in check. Make sure you're able to. Make sure listen. If you're huffing and puffing to get to the fridge to make your next bologna sandwich, you're in trouble.
Great form of exercise. So I always tell people, "Oh, should I take martial arts?" No, yeah, take martial arts if you got the time and the energy. But if not, at least just walk, because that's what you're going to do most during a disaster. The most common activity during a disaster is walking and squatting and standing up and squatting and walking and lifting and walking and squatting. It's brutal. Your back is gone, your legs are gone. So just walk. My bug out strategy has two components, because of that trailer that I've got behind my bicycle, I can carry my canoe. So I'm now completely amphibious. So I can bicycle, and if I come to a nice river and it looks like that's going in the direction I want to, I can throw everything into the canoe. All my bug out bags, my bicycle, and the trailer fits into the canoe, and I can go down the river. I can go along the lakes, and if I have to go, cross from one lake to another, I can put everything back into the trailer and bicycle. Think these things through. I'm saying, even if all you have is a baby stroller, then take the baby stroller, because putting your bug out bag in a baby stroller and pushing it is a lot easier than carrying it on your shoulders.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. Absolutely. Well, Stefan, we listened to this podcast entitled Retreat Straits and Bug Out, a Bag Strategy for Heading to the Hills. Perhaps we could pick back up on this with a part 2 next month, because if you don't have... Yeah, we're running out of time. But hey, listen, if you can't get all this done, just see if you can find your nearest Rambo. I always go back to, remember that Rambo scene, the original Rambo? I'm sure you've seen the original Rambo, right? Where he's dug out on the mountaintops, and you got like the local police after him. And he's just doing one crazy thing after another. Oh man, that's like one of the greatest scenes there is that's out there. But I don't think all of us have a Rambo near us. We all don't have a Stefan Verstappen living next door, right?
No, we don't.
Oh, good stuff, Stefan. Let's finish strong here with some shameless self-promotion time. Let's cover all the basis again there. Social media, any upcoming talks, media appearances, conferences, website as well.
Yeah, we'll go to my website, chinastrategies.com, and I'll put some more stuff up there, but most of my stuff is on there already. If you want to speak to me in person, you can book an appointment. I'll talk to you over Skype or Zoom or whatever, and we can. What I do with my clients is because everybody's situation is different, and will all require a different approach and a different strategy. So I will tailor it to where you are. I recently spoke to a woman that lives in Zurich, Switzerland, so what I advised her was different than what I advised the woman I spoke to that lives in Sydney, Australia.
Right.
Anyways, but most important for everybody, get my survival library download. It's really cheap. I just added another 15 books. It has all my books in PDF format. Plus, now it used to be 180 books, but I added another like 20 odd books. So it's over 200 books on everything you would need to survive an apocalypse. You could survive the apocalypse and rebuild civilization from scratch with the information in these 200 books. I recently had how to make kerosene. Because kerosene is a great fuel. It'll run your electric generator, or run your heat, or run your lamps. That's a great source of energy, and you can actually make it yourself, and you can make it yourself from scrap plastic junk. So
I did not know that.
yeah, so that's why I added it to my library. So get the survival library, you download it, put it on a flash drive, and keep it somewhere safe. Then when shit hits the fan, you're going to have a lot of time because there won't be any internet.
Right. You're going to have a lot of time.
You're going to have a lot of time, and you're going to be really bored or terrified. You know, typical Army situation, either bored to death or terrified. And provided you have like a smartphone or a tablet, you can now start reading these books, you know, everything you need to know. Honest to God, like I said, from learning how to make your own kerosene to farming and hunting and fishing and scrounging and edibles, wild edibles, medicine, emergency surgery. It's all
it all. You need it all, yeah.
You need it all because you don't know what's going to happen. So whatever the situation, oh my God, we're freezing to death. It's raining. We don't know how to heat the place. Okay, go to the chapter on shelter. There's 42 books on shelter. Everything, how to build a stove, an oven, and keep the place warm. And anyways, it's all in there.
Yeah, great resource. Yeah.
So and also I'll be doing an on-air I'll be doing a course.
Live stream? Oh, okay.
Yeah, live stream course on autonomy, and it'll be on how to build communities because a lot of people, when they're looking for their bug out location and they want to buy their 200 acres, they want to try and set up a community of people. But this is a big problem. So I'm going to solve those problems for you because I am a Rambo.
All right. Now, when's that live stream going to happen? Is that on the website?
I'm going to put it up there. I'm just working on it now. I've done the first class, and it'll be done by the end of August, and then it'll go live. So, anyways, stay tuned for that.
Okay. Wow. Yeah, definitely want to check that one out because everyone listening to this is to some degree either going to be a part of one, or trying to be a part of one, or will try to establish one themselves. So,
that's the final component to surviving this. We got to work together. Yeah. And your listeners, you have the unity of your faith. This is extremely important because one of the things that I'm talking about in this course is you need something to help you people stay together. You have to have common values, and the best common value from my study of history of all the people that have created communities to escape the collapse of their civilization, the most successful ones were religious communities. So there you go.
Yeah. Wow, well said. Way to finish up strong. Stefan Verstappen, that's the latest. And folks, listen, thank you all for tuning into today. We've got another great round of guests starting back up Monday as we head into August. Hard to imagine we're going to be headed into August. Here we go, folks. Until next time, stay safe. God bless.